Recording's live now. So yeah, why don't you tell me a little bit? I know we talked initially. You said submitted a review on Metafy about what your goals for this lesson were, but just where we rescheduled, it wasn't. It didn't really
Gotcha.
save.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Um, okay. So, I've been playing Smash since I was a kid. Started with Brawl, Smash 4,
Mhm.
kind of vibe, I feel like I had sort of that moment everyone has with the game where they're like, wait, you can like play this game like competitively, like
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
returning items off. Okay, cool. Had that. And then just through kind of practicing like Smash 4, I like discovered Melee. Obviously, I knew it existed, but like
Mm.
basically discovered how cool it was.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean
um,
that's basically the same for me too. I also started with Smash
yeah,
4.
yeah. For a while, I think I kind of just had like a feeling of, like it's too late for me,
Mm.
and this is like almost like 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. Um, I was like 13 or something, but I
Mm.
was still like, nah, too technical. I don't like not whatever. Forgot about it. Starts playing Ultimate, and then it was when like Slippy came out. I was like around that. I'm like, okay, like now here's a good chance to like give it a try. I wouldn't say I really started playing until around like summer of 2022, so not that long ago.
Okay. Yeah.
But with that, also taking like multiple like pretty long breaks.
Mm-hmm.
So my skill is not the same as somebody who would have been playing consistently for 2 years.
Yeah. No, that's totally fair.
Um,
Yeah. So still
but
really new in
yeah,
the grand scheme of
basically,
things. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I feel like I got like the basic, like I can like wave dash and like L cancel and stuff most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like that's that stuff I kind of got down. Yeah, I think the what kind of brought me to like wanting to book a session
Mm-hmm.
was uh I started playing again, and I was like, okay, this time like no 3 month long break. Like I want to like actually like get somewhere decent,
Yeah.
somewhere like not beginner level.
Okay.
And I felt like I was at the point where I did have like the super basic stuff down, and I was like, okay, I don't really know like where to go from here.
Sure. Okay. No,
So
for
I think
sure.
that's like the main thing is like what to like focus on.
Okay. And do you mind telling me like who do you main and like
Yeah, yep.
what characters you're struggling with the most, or maybe the characters that you want to
Yeah.
learn against the most right now?
So I made Marth.
Okay. Cool.
uh Part of it brought me to you, actually. um Played Marth. I would say I probably struggle the most with Falco.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Like as everyone does, I feel like. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's like I feel like every other character, even if they're like a little better than me, I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
I have a chance. Like if I like play really good, like I can make it happen. For Falco, I'm like, I lost. Like
Yeah. Okay. No, for sure. Okay, so yeah, we can talk about that. Well,
yeah.
let me ask you first, I guess. Is Falco we don't have to necessarily talk about characters today if you don't want to. If you're just looking for like a general path to improvement, we could
Hmm.
talk about that. And in other words, we can get you like better at the game fundamentally. So like make you a
Yeah.
stronger player versus like a Falco Slayer, if that makes sense. We could
Yeah.
do that. Because I do think what I typically go about doing on Metafy when I'm booking with someone new is I like to get an idea of like where they're at with the game, but where you're so new, I think I probably have a pretty good idea. If
Sure.
you can like do like the basic text and stuff, like wave dashing and L canceling, those kind of things. I'm assuming your punish game probably needs a lot of work if
That's
I
yeah.
had to
That's
guess.
I forgot to bring that up too. I
Yeah.
So often I'm like, okay, I get hit and like I take 80% or I just die.
Yeah.
And then like I get something that I know is good, like I get like a good grab or something. I'm like, oh, I just hit him twice.
Hmm.
That was it.
No, I mean that's totally fair. So yeah,
It's like
I
I feel
would,
like I'm playing at a constant disadvantage.
which is like a very real thing. So I would say what I typically advise when I coach people who are a little bit newer,
Hmm.
a lot of people just like you said want to just become really good against Falco. That's the character that blows you up
Yeah.
the most, and I think that's valid. So I never turn anyone away from saying no. Let's not focus on Falco right now. But I would like to advise, if you're looking to like get better at the game overall, I think starting out, Falco is like one of the harder characters to really like conceptualize and like
100%. Yeah.
make, because like he has very like over centralizing tools. Like some of his moves are not necessarily like spammable, but they're really really strong in some spots where it's like, while there might be better options, like back air kind of makes it work. Or like, while I could work on my spacing and like my timing mix ups and all that, laser just kind of does the job for me, you know?
Right.
So like you'll see like a lot of like laser spamming, down air spamming Falcos that like are just kind of hard to beat. And that's pretty tough, I think, because Falco is just like, he challenges your execution over and over and over, right? Whereas like some other characters, like I think for Marth players in particular, there's like 3 different matchups I like to recommend, is like not necessarily beginner matchups, but like they're very good matchups on helping you grasp like concepts with Marth, I think. So like an example is like Luigi. I think not the most common character you would find on like unranked or anything, but Luigi is very good for Marth players to learn that matchup early on, because it kind of teaches
Interesting.
them.
Okay. That kind of makes sense. I feel like I actually usually do pretty well against Luigi's.
Yeah, I mean it's a really good matchup for Marth. Like it's one of his more winning ones in the game. Marth is kind of different than a lot of top tiers in the game, where like his matchup spread isn't like, you'll often hear like mashup ratio numbers like 60-40 or 50-50 or whatever. Marth doesn't really have any like big blow up matchups like 70-30. They're a lot closer to even than you might think, but with Luigi, I think that's like the one that kind of stands out, because like for Luigi, like when we talk about exploiting the weaknesses for him as a character, like when you jump forward with him, like he doesn't really move as far left or right in the air. Like he kind of like doesn't go as far of a distance as a character like Jigglypuff for Captain Falcon. Like Captain Falcon can jump across the stage, right?
Yeah, it's so annoying too.
Yeah, no, it is. And so like when you take that trait in mind and couple it with the fact that Marth, like his sword has like no hitbox, right? Or hurtbox, sorry. It only has it's a disjointed move. It means if you're like throwing Luigi up in the air and you're juggling him, well, he struggles really, really hard to get out of it, because he literally just can't get away to the left or right fast enough before you can chase him. So it's a good matchup for learning like juggling, like how to push an advantage state. That's one way to go about it. Another matchup, I think, if you're looking to get a lot better against Falco, is just to focus on Fox. Because Fox doesn't have nearly as hard of an execution. I think starting out, he's about the same in terms of difficulty and for gimping, but like the neutral is obviously a little easier than it would be with Falco, right? And then another matchup I like to push is Sheik, because Sheik is considered like a harder matchup for Marth.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of reasons why, but I kind of leave that for like the third lesson or something we have, if you want to take it like one character at a time. But yeah, like I think Luigi kind of teaches you like how to push an advantage state and like how to do that. Fox teaches you like how to be comfortable. I think Fox is a good matchup because it kind of teaches you like a bunch of things with him. Like he doesn't necessarily just have one defining weakness other than like his range, but his speed and like the fact that he's gonna put you all over the stage, and you're gonna like with Luigi, like I can almost exclusively play in the center of the stage, and like it really doesn't matter. I don't have to force myself to go anywhere else. Fox is gonna make you move, right? So it kind of teaches you like how to be comfortable moving, like playing with mix-ups, that's kind of thing. And I think Sheik is like a mix of the two. And that's not even talking about the other characters in the game, but I think those are just good matchups for Marth to learn.
Yeah.
So anyway, all this to say, if you'd like, we could take a look at Luigi today, just kind of take a basic introduction to Marth as a character and like how to abuse his strengths across the cast. Or we could hyper focus on Fox or Falco and kind of talk about how to chain grab a little easier, whatever. But I kind of tend to steer away from that because, like I said, I try and base a lot of my lessons around long-term improvement. And I think I just don't want to be like a professional Googler for you and like walk you through chain grabbing.
Yeah.
If that's something you know you can Google on yourself. I don't want to make you feel like scammed out of your money or time, right? So I'll leave it up to you. I'm happy to give you my recommendation.
I think that makes sense. Just kind of focusing on like, stuff I can't just get from Google.
Yeah.
'Cause I think that's like even with like Falco, like I pulled up some stuff on like
Mhm.
YouTube on like how to deal with him better. And I've been kind of working on myself, incorporating that like I didn't even know until recently that if you get hit by a laser in your nair, you can fare after
Fair
that.
after it. Yeah.
I was like, that's huge. That's huge to know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. I think I can kind of work on that right now, and then just for today, focusing on like how to just get better at like the game,
Sure.
because that's the part that's hard to like Google once you do like, it's like, okay, I know how to L cancel, but like, where do I go after that?
Yeah. No, I think yeah, it's like how do you apply all the like frame data or whatever that you learn, right? Like
Yeah.
to actually play. So no, I can totally understand that. So yeah, let's talk about Luigi if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll kind of jump in. So I'm gonna share my screen here.
Okay.
And this is kind of I don't typically do this for most matchups, but Luigi I think is like simple enough of one for Marth players to like grasp onto that it kind of makes sense. So one thing I'm really big on when I like it's helped me get a lot better as a player, like personally, but I think just lately I've been trying to push a lot of people I do coaching with to also do the same, is to make a notes server on Discord. It doesn't necessarily have to be on Discord. You could use a literal notebook, you could use whatever, but I made this
Okay.
little server and I just have like all these different like notes and character things, and I like it because I can do
did
it.
start. I recently made like a Google Doc basically doing this, but I think the server actually, I like having that organized like that. That seems better.
Yeah, it's really cool too, I think, because you can like add images and all have them in the same
Yeah.
message. But like if I wanted to just search like the word edgeguard, like I got all my notes on edgeguarding different characters like pulling up here, right? So
Gotcha.
I think the search feature also is really nice. And like for example, like I have this one for Peach where like there's not really too many notes I need to know about Peach turnips, so I made like a little thread and like all my turnip notes are just organized in here too. So I like Discord, but the main point that I'm trying to make is like I really recommend rate some notes, because while like you and I can like sit here and talk and understand it, writing it down is another thing. It's like
Oh, 100%.
it's like when you're in school, right? Like if you write your
Yeah,
notes, like yeah. So pretty big on
yeah. I
that.
guess another thing too I should like mention about myself is like I am somebody who like part of like what makes gaming fun for me is
Mhm.
like the improvement aspect and like
Yeah, for sure.
trying to get better. Like I'm the other like main competitive game I play is like Valorant, and like definitely once I started like VOD reviewing my games and stuff, and
Mhm.
like found good coaching content on YouTube and like things like that, like I noticed huge improvement.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this game is
Yeah,
full of that. So
for sure.
you can get
I,
lost
I
in that
think
for
part of it too is with Melee is like not being as big of a game. It's more limited to me finding resources like that.
yeah, a lot of them are kind of spread out, or like I
Yeah.
think a lot of guides nowadays are outdated. Like I was actually talking about this the other day. Like if I go on YouTube right now and I search like Marth versus Fox edge guarding, right? A lot of this info is like outdated too. There might be like a million guides for like the Fox players on how to edge guard Marth, because that's something they've
Right.
always
Of
struggled
course.
with. But like yeah, in terms of like Marth players, there's this one from almost like 10 years ago, and
Oh, I
it's
remember watching those.
yeah, and it's outdated as shit. Like SSBM tutorials is a really great YouTube channel, but like the meta has just kind of evolved for a lot of these things. So like if you're
Yeah.
noticing a lot of them isn't working, like it's probably a reason why. But a lot of these newer videos are still pretty good. But some of the really older ones, like yeah, it's kind of tough. But this is a channel I grew up watching a ton. So like I'm still love this channel, and not to shit on it or anything, but like yeah, it can be pretty tough
Yeah.
to get a lot of this stuff talked about nowadays, because I think a lot of it's either like on Twitter now, which is like terrible search function.
Yeah.
It's on Twitter, it's on YouTube, and it's old and outdated, or it's on Smashboards, and like Smashboards also has a terrible search function. So
Yeah.
it can be hard. But yeah, so anyway, very big on taking your notes, because yeah, uh I think writing it down really cements it, and you can always come back and edit my notes. Like I have notes here against like Jigglypuff that I was just editing the other day, and I'm like, I think this is good. I see Zane do this. Actually, this is something better, and I haven't cleaned it up yet, but like I can just update that and have it. But yeah, anyway, so not to get too off topic. Um, I don't do this for every matchup typically. I'm very big on like let's establish a baseline and kind of work from it from there. But I think some matchups you can just kind of write down on paper. One of them is Dr. Mario, and I think it's kind of similar to Luigi, but I don't want to talk about that too much. I just have some notes here that really kind of make it easy. But Marth versus Luigi and Falco and Sheik are ones I have. So these are my notes versus Falco. If you ever want to talk about it, we could talk about it. Like just to give you an example of like what does it look like, how many things like that. But what I have versus Luigi is really just text-based stuff, and it's pretty similar, like almost the exact same to what I have versus Sheik, but I like to have this Luigi section here just because it's really, really simple for him. So this is what I have written down for how do you beat Luigi. So I like to think of the matchup as like a step 1, step 2, step 3, right? And the way I've structured this is I have it talking about what are weaknesses for Luigi as a character, and why are these weaknesses good for you. And these are like objective truths in the game. Like you can't really argue that like Luigi isn't simple to edge guard and that it's going to lead to a bunch of damage or a kill, because that's just the reality of it, right? So I'm not necessarily talking, the focus here isn't necessarily to talk about specific moves or anything like that. It's to focus on like the actual game plan and like the positions of like what is happening in the game, right? So let's kind of talk about how Luigi is bad, and I think reversing that and talking about why that's good for Marth is a better way to look about it, because then you'd kind of know what to look for when you're playing. But I do have this written kind of backwards. So it's Luigi is very simple to edge guard, where you can rack up a ton of damage and kill him. Basically what that means is this is like the end goal of what you're looking for every time, is whatever you're doing with Luigi, you want this to end with an edge guard, and then you can kill him. We'll talk about how to edge guard later, but that's basically the end goal, right? And I think that's pretty standard with like almost every character, but not always the case, because like sometimes you can combo them outright and kill them, but it's kind of hard to do that with Luigi because he's pretty floaty. So when you're getting hits, you kind of want to push him towards an edge guard, and that way you can secure a kill a little easier. And kind of like we talked about before, Luigi can't really contest you in the air. He only has his down air, down B, and nair as like mix-ups to like try and hit you. Fortunately, your up air kind of beats all of them, just for different timings. But the main point isn't necessarily to focus on how to use up air in this spot. It's just to say it's like him landing down above you doesn't really work for him, because you always have like a winning solution. So he's kind of forced to do something else, right? What does something else look like for him? Typically means trying to drift away from the stage, right? Like if I'm here, I'll just like simple example. If I'm hitting with my sword, right, always up here, and Luigi's falling down on me, I know he's not coming down here, he just kind of has to move towards the edge of the stage this way or this way, right? He's gotcha. Like, he just can't land otherwise. So that's kind of the idea. It's like these moves are a thing that exists in a vacuum, but we kind of have answers for those, so he has to do something else. The problem with him trying to do something else and drifting to the other side here is that he has really bad horizontal drift, meaning he doesn't really move very far in this direction. He kind of only moves a little bit, which makes it for you as a Marth player really easy to kind of like stay with him and, just kind of like move with him and stay underneath him. And so the idea is that you never really let him land on the stage. I mean, I know obviously that's kind of like the concept of juggling, is you don't want to let him, but Luigi, it's just very easy, right? Because it's like he does not, like he doesn't move far, right? So it's a lot easier to do that. And we could talk about little tips on like how to just do that part. I think a lot of people go wrong there, where it's like you need to do like landing aerials versus like rising aerials. It kind of makes your effective hitboxes smaller or bigger, sorry, but yeah, anyway, so that's kind of how you like contest him to like force him off the side of the stage, to like juggle and shark him. Luigi relies a lot on his tilts when he's on the ground, so this is like before you get a grab, for example. He relies a lot on his tilts and wave dashes, which means he is prone to getting walled with aerials, shield camped, down tilt, crouch canceled, right? Like if Luigi's coming at me with a forward tilt, I kind of know I can just swing at it, I can shield it, I can down tilt him before he can reach me, or I can even crouch cancel it and get a grab. All of these 4 options kind of beat Luigi really, really bad. So it's like he doesn't really have good neutral. He has terrible disadvantage, and we don't really care about his punishes because it's not like he doesn't have like a chain grab or anything like that where he can lock me into a
Right.
death. Like he might give me like 40% and put me off stage, and that can be pretty tough. But it's not as drastic as something like, where Martha's gonna throw me up in the air once and it could be my stock, right? Just give me 1 sec. Sorry, my fire alarm's going off. It's just beeping in the background. Okay. Sorry about that. So yeah, that's like the basic game plan against Luigi. So when we talk about this in the reverse sample, right? It's like we're talking about if Luigi relies a lot on tilts, wave dashes, and you have all these different options to deal with it. Another thing you can do with that is staying away from Luigi's range. That keeps you at tipper distance, which allows you to react or crouch cancel safely, right? So like if I know he's gonna come at me and you see him coming at me, I can react and do that a little safer, right? So it's rather than like running at him all the time, if I'm always staying at a distance where he has to come to me and I have these answers on how to deal with him coming into me, it kind of makes it easier, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's, I think, a big thing a lot of people skip over. Again, is the two things people skip over the most with Marth that I think makes this really tough is there's a difference between if I want to play, we'll ignore the up air here. Let's just take Marth as an example. If I want to play from here and I'm dash dancing back and forth, or if I'm like always going at him and just going for that grab all the time, right? That sounds really obvious, but with literally every character in the game, spacing with Marth really matters because you always want the tipper, right? So why are we always forcing it where we always are going at them? And sure, we could run up and hit a great F smash and get a tipper and kill them really early potentially. But if we're looking at, a game plan like this and the other person has a game plan and they need to stay at a certain spacing, it only makes sense for them to like not to just bait something like that out, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think having a good mix of that kind of am I going to stay at this spacing? Am I going to go back a little further? Am I going to stay in place? Am I going to go forward a little bit now? That's really important. And we can talk about establishing how to stay in place and like make it so that you're really good in your one spot before you're able to play the other spots, I think is important. But for Luigi, that's not as important just because he's a really basic character. You can say once you're at a spacing that's like far away enough where you're not literally right on top of him, but you're far away enough that you can react to him like sliding across the stage and coming at you, I think works out pretty well. And from there, like if you, let's say you get a forward air in place, you can juggle Luigi after with an up air and up tilt. It doesn't even have to be the forward air. You could crouch cancel and then just grab him out of the crouch after he hits you with like a forward tilt. Throw him up in the air every time. There is combos where you can do like down throw into F smash or F throw into F smash, and that works pretty well. But it doesn't really line up with the game plan of like just juggling him over and over. You might get 30 or 40%, but it's going to be pretty hard to edge guard him after that versus him trying to like land in where you can get so much more damage. And then yeah, like it's basically the stuff we talked about after that, right? So it's like you can stay underneath him, so he's either forced to drift away or off stage, and like that loses to moves like F smash, grabbing him again, F tilting him, and then from how you keep him off stage, it's really just trying to cover his side B, taking away his jump, down tilting his up B, those kinds of things, just like basic moves answering certain moves. And then, yeah, that's the basic game plan. So when you're watching VODs back, you're looking at what can I do to make this happen, or what's going on my games wrong where this isn't happening. But these are like objective truths about Marth versus Luigi. Like I can be playing, I don't know, like Eddie Mexico, I think is the best Luigi in the world. It's kind of up for debate right now for some people, but I think it's pretty safely Eddie Mexico. Like I could be playing him, or I could play like a Luigi who goes like 2-2 at my local kind of thing. But well, no matter what, like this doesn't really change, right? So yeah, you have any questions about that, or like anything kind of vague? I know I'm kind of throwing a lot of info at you right now, but I just want to make sure that these concepts are kind of like explain, one, for the recording, but two, just so it kind of paints a full picture.
Yeah, no, no, I think it's all making sense, and I think just kind of applying sort of like how like breaking other stuff in the game down like this is like even just like realizing like I should be doing that is like valuable too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah. So I mean, like, what we're talking about here, really, the Luigi matchup is a matter of juggling, keeping advantage, edge guarding, and
Mm-hmm.
spacing. Right. Those are like the four fundamental concepts I'd say you're pushing the most, and I think they're also pretty easy in this matchup. I shouldn't say easy. They're like very introductory, right? Like it's very easy to see like a Marth player that like juggles Luigi from like 0 to 100 and kills him off of it, versus one that like gets an up throw, gets one up air maybe, but then like gets a weak up air on the next one or whatever, and they only get like 30%, and the combo just kind of ends, and Luigi makes it back, and he does the same amount of damage, and blah blah blah, right? Like it comes off pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So I think sticking to that game plan and working on those fundamental concepts kind of carries over to other matchups, right? Like similarly to Luigi, Sheik also doesn't have very good horizontal drift in the air. So when I'm comboing Sheik with like an up throw, not necessarily looking to land like up throw into F smash or like up throw up air F smash or something like that, because it's not going to combo a lot of the time just because of the weight of the character. But I know I can stay underneath her a lot of the time and just rack up damage until she's forced off stage, and then I can edge guard her. Or like if I'm talking about Fox and I'm talking about how I want to combo Fox, like Fox I can actually combo a ton with just like 50 million up airs, and that does work like after like 40%. Like I can up air him to like literally 100 if I wanted to. But like it doesn't really matter unless I'm pushing him towards a stage where his recovery is like really edge guardable by Marth, right? So
Yeah.
kind of doing that and focusing on like just hitting the edge guards every time like really matters. Um, and like similarly, like there's other matchups like even like the Marth Ditto or against Sheik, or like it's even Peach, I would say, like characters that really want to force a scrap against Marth and that want you really close. If you're playing neutral with Luigi, like you kind of want to play far away enough from him and kind of force him to come to you because you outrange him. So that I think is just an important concept in and of itself, of just like how to space yourself in neutral and make it so that you're more likely to get like tipper hitboxes or anything like that. Because I think a lot of people, they look at tippers and they think like, oh, like if you up air at this percent and then if they DI this way, you can always get an F smash and that's a tipper. And it's like, that's true. Like there's tippers and combos for sure. But I think like good Marths are good at getting tippers in neutral, and how they do that is kind of deterministic of like how they're spacing themselves, like the distance between their opponent. And that might sound obvious, but I think it's like it's a matter of positioning and not necessarily a matter of like I knew this pixel was going to line up with this pixel kind of thing. You know.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I think this matchup is good for like a very like introductory like crash course on how to play Marth. A lot of people might not see it that way, or like they would expect like Fox to be that character, but Fox is very good. And I think you can play Fox a lot of different ways. So I think Luigi is like I said, is one of the characters that Marth does really, really well against. So it kind of really shows his strengths. Not so much his weaknesses as much, but I think his weaknesses kind of show if you don't abuse his strength like any other character. So yeah. So what might be helpful if you'd like is we can now that we've kind of talked about the game plan and like what that might look like. I don't really have like many like video examples for you right now, which I do apologize that the note stuff or like the little like mini guide that I've written up is something newer that I'm doing, but we could definitely take a look if you want to send me like some Slippy files of you playing against Luigi. And we can kind of talk about like where you can implement that into your play.
Yeah.
I think that might be helpful just so you can like get a better understanding of like what I'm talking about, or like see some spots like where this might work better. But yeah, do you know how to send Slippy files on Discord?
I think so.
Okay, I can show you worst case. Like it's a 2-minute step. It's not really a big deal. So all you do is you open up your Slippy launcher app, which you probably can just Google on your computer, like, or literally type here and just type Slippy and it'll show up.
Yep.
And then you go to your replays over here. This might take a second for me because I have like tens of thousands for me to load them all.
Yeah, does it save like every single one?
Yep, it does. Yep. They're all on
great.
your computer. Yeah. I think technically they're stored like in some hidden app data folder now. They used to just be in your documents folder, but you can actually see exactly where. Like here, if I go to Netplay, here, if I go to game, replays, and then yeah, this is where all my Slippy folders are.
Okay.
So yeah, there actually are in my documents. So never mind. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Like I like to do it in the Slippy replay because then I can search by character, rather than just having them show up in my computer and just be all like these are just 50 million games, right?
Right.
So the replay launcher I think is a little easier. So yeah, if I do, here's me playing this month. There's a setting here you can set up to monthly subfolders. I think that's a little easier.
Okay.
But yeah, like literally you can just search Luigi, or actually maybe not. Maybe I need someone's connect code. Sorry, but I know I played a Luigi pretty recently. So here, yeah, here's me against Stinky number 2. I think his code was like Little Stinker or something. But this was just ranked like last night. But yeah, you basically go in here. You can hit more options, reveal location, and that game file will be highlighted here, and you can just drop that in Discord, just in the chat here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when it's ranked, it's like 3 separate files.
Well, every game's a different file, but
Gotcha,
yeah. So even like hand warmers, they're all like separate
Okay.
files or anything. But yeah.
Actually, I played one last night too. All right. I played a full set against this guy. Do you want all 3 or just one of them?
I mean, you can send all 3. We'll probably just end up looking at one of them just for time's sake, just so we have time to like answer questions. But yeah, let's take a look at all 3, and that'll be good.
I lost game 1 and won the next 2. Would you prefer a win or a loss, or?
No, I think just send all 3. We'll look at whatever stage comes up. We could talk about stages a little bit too if you'd like. And like kind of how to pick stages against your opponents. So, I mean, stage counter picking is pretty simple. I think in theory, there's different arguments for like what stage is good against what character. The way I like to do it, and I think the way most people will do it, is I kind of look at like what do they know about the character on paper, and kind of picking the stages that like abuse or strengths the most, right? So like if we're talking about like getting a grab or hitting Luigi up in the air is like really, really strong for him or strong for us. Probably picking a stage like FD or Pokemon Stadium is like really good because there's no top platform he can land on, right? So yeah, okay.
That should be all of them. Yeah, my go-to has been if it's my ban first, I just ban Dreamland instantly.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty fair, I'd say, for a Marth player. Like it's just hard to kill, really. Like,
right, I'm just like, all right, ban that one, and then we'll see what it looks.
Yeah. No, I mean that's totally valid. So yeah, I think Dreamland for Marth players is pretty easy to ban because it's like historically like been the worst stage for him in a lot of matchups. But like if you're playing like Ice Climbers, for example, like FD can be pretty tough because it's like pretty hard to like approach them and they're pretty oppressive in the corner. And then if you get grabbed in the corner, then having the platforms is nice there. But yeah, I mean Dreamland's a pretty basic first ban. But I think picking your stages from like, let's say they give you like either a big stage or a small stage, which one's the one to go for? I think that's kind of where having that decision making is a little bit more helpful.
Right.
So yeah, okay. So I have these 3 that you lost on Yoshi's Story, 1 on Fountain and Stadium. That's good. So my opinion on the Luigi matchup, personally, before, like, are you familiar with the ledge grab limit rule in Melee?
It sounds familiar, but
okay, it's no worries if you're not. Like it's a pretty recently implemented rule. Like I think only like 2 years ago. Basically, we have a rule in the game now that says if the game ever goes to time, If you've grabbed the ledge a certain amount of times,
Oh
you
yeah,
lose, right?
yeah. Isn't it like 40 or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's different per tournament, but I think the
Okay.
standard now is probably 40 because like having it be really high is just degenerate, I think. So we kind of like the rules are kind of built around like what do we value as like a skill, and I think ledge camping is not a skill anyone really values, right? So
Right.
personally, before the ledge grab limit was a rule, I didn't really like playing on Yoshi's Story against Luigi because I thought it's pretty easy for Luigi to get like a big invincible ledge dash that goes across like half of the stage.
Mhm.
And for him to just, oh, this one missed. Okay, I'm going to go to the other ledge and just like do it back and forth over and over, right? Um, Nowadays, I think it's fine to ban Dreamland because it's pretty hard for Luigi to land if you get a grab, but he's not always forced to the ledge over and over. So I'm interested to see how you play that on Yoshi's, but I think for simplicity's sake, we'll probably look at the Pokemon Stadium game just because it's
Okay.
more basic of a stage. But just kind of wanted to throw that out there that like if you are losing on Yoshi's for any particular reason, it shouldn't be any different than that. But just where this stage is probably like easier to kind of explain concepts and stuff, we'll look at this one. But yeah, this nowadays I would say is a very good stage for Marth. So even though you lost here, like don't be afraid to go here nowadays, I'd say.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, let's kind of jump into it. So can you see the game on my screen? Just want to make sure.
I can. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, like right off the bat, we're kind of seeing what we kind of talked about is what you don't want to do, right? Which is to like get up in their face
Just like run at
and
it, yeah.
swing, right? The main reason being, outside of the fact that like what they want is to try and like get close to you and get a scrap. Like why isn't it this a good idea really? Like if the move hits, like so what? There's two reasons actually. One is that if I were to do the same move, I'm going to show you in paint. This might make it a little easier to explain. So let's say if I were to do the same move, and I'm going to do this down here. I'm using Marth's forward air, okay, as an example. And Marth's forward air kind of looks like this. It's like a big hitbox that kind of looks like a C or something, right? Like it's an arc. A lot of people kind of see the game and they look at moves in terms of like, well, this hitbox has this shape, so this is the shape that's gonna win me this situation, right? But that's not actually how it works when we look at it in practice, right? Like the move, I know you're not using forward air here, you're using nair, but the idea is like, as the move is happening, you're also moving as a character the more the frame comes out, right?
Yeah.
So when you're moving forward with Marth, we talk about like Marth has a lot of range on people and it's hard for them to get in on him. When you're moving forward, do you kind of see what I'm saying about like how that range is kind of like effectively smaller? And like now the only distance between Marth and my opponent as if I'm moving towards him is just this little bit here on just this one frame, right? But like all the other time, it's here, it's like really big range, really big range, really big, medium range, medium range. Now there's like no range. It's pretty small, right? And you're landing right on top of him. So the idea is like maybe frame one of the move is like here. I know this is not literally the frame data, but like frame one is here, frame two is here, frame three is here, frame four is here. The idea is that you want to space your moves in a spot where the furthest hitbox of the move is the one that's coming out when you want it to hit, right? So I think like here you're doing a pretty good job of that because like even though you're doing the approaching one, you're still getting that hitbox out. It's barely not hitting him, like pixels off.
Yeah.
But you're still getting the hitbox of what you want out. So your timing is good on it. Your spacing is off though. And I think if we're aiming it so that, you know, Marth is, if I can do it like this, Marth is drifting forward like here, like it's going to line up a little better, right? Like if I'm moving towards it, I want 3 to be the hitbox that's going to land if I'm going to do it. But the problem is we're not frame perfect robots, right? Like we can't always account for like the frame perfect hitbox to hit. So if I'm off on a little bit, if I'm doing it in place where like the hitbox isn't going to move towards them, maybe frame 2 hits, but I still have enough distance between the two of us, right? that I think is like a concept that's a little hard to explain a bit, but the idea is like this nair has less range if I'm moving forward with it than it would if I'm in place or retreating with it, right? Because just as much as this sword has this much of a distance between opponent and his hand, if you're moving backwards, it's even more range than when you started the move, right?
Yeah. That makes sense.
So that's the one reason why you don't want to do these aerials kind of like approaching so much all the time. You'll hear Zane talk about it. Zane's like the best Marth player in the world right now. He'll talk about like this nair is like a no-go in like almost every matchup. Like it has its use. Like you can use it against Falco, kind of like you mentioned, and like if you get hit by the laser, you take it and you do a fair after.
And I know I do it so much.
Yeah.
The run at them nair.
Yeah. But it's like the fair is really what's good about that run at them nair. It's not even really the nair, right? The nair just kind of scares them. But the fair in place after is what's really good because it sets up a distance between the two of you. It's almost like a training wheels, like spacing fair, if that makes sense. So that's the one reason why you don't want to do this nair like this. Can you guess what the second reason what is? If you don't know, I'm not gonna waste your time. Like I'll just tell you. But.
No, I mean, I would say kind of like going back to what we talked about earlier, like strengths versus weaknesses in the matchup, you're kind of throwing away one of your strengths by doing this.
Yeah, I mean
like
that's
that
true.
whole like forcing into like approach.
Yeah, I mean like the second reason why it's pretty close of an idea, because that's true. I'd say that's kind of what we talked about like for the first one, right? You're throwing away the idea of like your moves have less range now. You're kind of like effectively interpolating them later. But the second reason why is because this is something I think a lot of lower level players aren't thinking too much about, but it's because of crouch cancel. If I wanted to as Luigi, like I could just hold down here and down smash you, right? And it's like now all of a sudden like this move that could have gotten me a combo is now like a move that's like putting me in a combo, right? I think most people are just looking to play it like it's like ultimate where crouch cancel doesn't exist, so it's like move versus move. But now in melee it's kind of like it can be move versus move, but it's also move versus like character, so your positioning matters a lot more. So like some characters like Fox, like he can kind of like ignore that rule a little bit because he has his down air, which is like a multi-hit which beats crouch cancel. Marth doesn't really have anything like that though, so the way he beats crouch cancel is by having enough distance between him and his opponent so that if they do crouch cancel, sure they get the crouch cancel, but their move that they pick is gonna whiff and then you get a hit off him again, right? So that's the second reason why. So we kind of, not to like harp on this too much, I just kind of want to talk about like why it's bad to like run at Luigi so much. And yeah, we kind of talked about it already, but like it's up because you have more range than him. It's up to him to get in on you, right? So you don't really have to run at him a ton. He has to come in on you. But yeah, so I mean, so far I think you're kind of swinging quite a bit, which isn't bad necessarily, but I think just a little slow acting, and like when you're out of a combo or like when you get a grab that ends, like you're pretty quick to like just do something right away after. And a lot of the time that doesn't really look like retreating and trying to put that space between you back so much, right? Like you got a scrap here, miss that, F smash, okay, and I'm gonna roll at him, okay, missed my air dodge, now I'm gonna go back a little bit, but I messed up, fair, okay, F tilt, okay, double jump, back air, okay, right? Do you see kind of like the trend of what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, definitely.
So instead, in a lot of these spots, what you can be doing is like, okay, that's not going to be a combo, but I have the center of the stage. I can stay right here and like hold my position. Okay, I reacted into him, rolling here? Did he roll?
I think he rolled, yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, he tech rolled.
Or tech, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But like, okay, I got hit. He's stuck in leg, whatever. Like, I can't hit him this quick enough here. And that's like a recognition thing. Like, that comes with time, I think. But like, okay, I at least don't have to like get in on him here, right? Okay, he whiffed. I whiffed. I was center of the stage. Okay, there you messed up. I think you did the right thing there, actually. But like, the idea I think is like you don't have to like swing, guess, like react next. So you can kind of like play for your position of the center of the stage.
Take like the small win and then just like hold the position.
Yeah. And like the position in this case being like the center of the stage, right? Because again, like The corner is really bad for Luigi. And so he's obviously going to try and get out of it. He can't like really do much in the corner. So you're just trying to stop him from hitting you from the center of the stage where you have more room to maneuver. But okay, so you get an up tilt here. So this is kind of like where we want Luigi the most, right? It's like directly above us. You're right below him. So I'm going to slow this down because it's usually just a little bit more helpful. Maybe let's go a little bit ahead. Okay. So what do we get here? He's landing right on top of you, and we S smash, and it barely whiffs. Okay. So my point on Luigi, this S smash barely whiffed, right? Like was like literally a frame or two off, which is tough, but that's common in this game, is for stuff to be like barely off, right? And while this F smash would have killed him if he landed into it, like that was literally a single frame off. The one before this, like you can see it in the background here because the reflection, literally a frame off. While this F smash would have killed him, it is very, very committal to go for it, right? Like now you're stuck in leg.
Just like up air there.
Yeah. So you can up air here, or you can even up tilt because he's so low to the ground. Like you have options here. You can up air him when he's like here, I'd say a little higher. And like then you have a little bit time to jump and then fall a little bit and then get an up air out. But you could also do an instant up air and just catch him. Or you could like jump, not do an attack, land, and then bait with an up tilt, or just stand here and up tilt. But either way, like when we talk about like what does Luigi have as moves to get down, he has his down air, which kind of like sticks his legs out a little bit further. He has his nair, which is really fast, but he kind of like tucks his legs up a little bit and he hits in front of him. Not too bad, but the hitbox is down here, but not as down as down air. Or he has his down B, where he kind of like does the little spin animation, which you see here for a second. Does the spin, he kind of like stalls in the air for like an extra half second. It's like a half beat difference. But that's really it of like all he has. Luigi can't air dodge here because if you do a low leg move and he goes through the whole air dodge animation, you get to act before he does, and he still has to fall to the ground, so you just hit him again, right? So when we talk about moves to use, like the S smash isn't bad, and I want to harp on that. Like it's not to say that going for a kill move isn't always a good idea. Sometimes it works, but I think with a character that's floatier, there's not really much of a reason to let it all rip like this, because if they're floaty against Marth, they can't land against Marth, and if they can't land against Marth, they're off stage, and Marth is one of the best edge guarders in the game, right? So that's kind of what you're looking for. Now, in terms of like how to up air or anything like that, we talked about this a little bit, but just to get the idea going where it's relevant, Marth up air doesn't actually work like it's like a, I don't know, like a half moon, right? Like looking at it like this, like it's a, I don't know, it's half circle, right? But like I said, moves in this game, they're not all at once. So it's not all this big animation at once. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe, right? And what you're looking to hit him with is the very top of it. So to do that, you need to be directly below Luigi and not kind of like off on the side of Luigi where you could be like here, right? Does that make sense? And I think what people don't understand with this stuff a lot of the time is, I'm just going to delete these numbers real quick just so the drawing doesn't look so crude when I do this. Kind of like how we talked about with the Nair, right? There's a difference between if you're approaching someone and if you're retreating from someone, and how that kind of makes your effective range bigger, right? So like if I'm coming at someone with Marth, and the same idea, it's just instead of horizontal, it's vertical. If I'm rising with the up air and trying to hit Luigi, it's not this one hitbox as a picture that's rising with him. It's the whole animation, right? So if I'm rising, I'm really, really hoping that it's just this one frame that's going to make this happen, right? Versus if I'm retreating with it, it's the whole animation that's still coming out, but he can't like reach me as much because I'm also going down with him, right? So the chances of him hitting me increase because I'm pushing myself closer to Luigi. Whereas if I'm retreating with it, going down, and throwing out the up air, it's a lot harder for him to actually hit me, and he's really just interacting with the sword. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you're juggling people or fishing for an up air, while standing on the ground here works because you can up tilt, you're pretty late to actually like interact with him. And I would say probably around like here is where you want to start your jump, so that, and you don't have to fast fall it or anything. You can just do like a slow jump. But the idea is like you kind of like trace him coming down with you, but like you're also going down, right? And you throw out the up air in between the two of you, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's like that's your vertical edge guard. That's how you kind of like keep him from landing on above you. And if your timing's a little off and maybe you jumped a little too early and he's way closer than you think and you think he might hit you and you don't have time to fall and throw out the up air, well, you can just fast fall and then you could land to do an up tilt here, right? And that fixes your timing. So now you have multiple different timings of like how you hit him, but both are safe,
Gotcha.
right? So that's kind of the idea. And that would have led to an edge guard where you could have actually killed him instead of having to guess right on the timing for the F smash, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So here you're recovering, scrapping quite a bit. I like that F tilt. Here, okay. So here when it comes to edge guarding Luigi, and really with any character, the things that are important when it comes to edge guarding is managing resources. That's the key. So when we talk about Luigi's recovering resources, what does that look like? That's probably his double jump, his down B a little bit. If he mashes it, he gets a little bit of height, and his side B, right? Or his misfire, where you can like shoot off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really about it. Nothing else he really has helps him recover, really, right? Like his air dodge kind of, but like it's pretty reactable, right?
Yeah.
And like we said, big weakness of Luigi, he does not move far left and right. So when he's like all the way out here, when you hit him with this F tilt, right, he really has to drift into the left and right here. So he's like very easy to follow, I'd say.
You can't like mix up and go side to side like other characters can.
Yeah, exactly. And the other super important thing to know about him, and I think a lot of people don't know it for whatever reason, maybe because they played Brawl or Smash 4, is when Luigi uses his up B in Melee, he actually can't drift left and right after the fact. Like it's straight up and then straight down, and that's it. But in Brawl and Smash 4 and Ultimate, like he can move to the left and right, kind of like Mario. Yeah. But that's really important to know, I'd say, because what this means is that however Luigi ends his recovery is either going to be directly below the ledge like this, or he has to try and like misfire on stage here. But that's it. Like there's no like coming in diagonally like you would with like Mario or something, right? So I think as a Marth player, that's broken actually, because if you stand about here, maybe like here, but like standing about here means that you can basically just cover everything, right? If he has to recover on stage, like above the ledge, that means he has to side B now, which you can cover just by like shielding and then punishing it, or you can like grab the ledge and hit him if you wanted with invincibility. But if if you think he's going to use his up B, then he has to go all the way down here and then use his up B, which you have two answers for that. You can either run off and hit him with your forward air before, because you know he has to drift in, or if you want to be safer, you can literally just stay on the ledge here and you can down tilt and it'll just hit him right at the ledge. So again, edge guarding this character is broken because like you cover everything, right? If he does his down B, you can react because that animation is so long and he has to mash super hard to even get some height. You can just go out and hit him and then rinse, repeat. Come back to here. It's the exact same scenario, but now he has one less resource, right? If he doesn't have a double jump, you know even sooner that he's not going to happen, right? If he does have a double jump and you don't have time to get down here, you're still safe because you can down tilt the up B. You're just reacting for it at that point, right? You don't have to call it out. So in every situation here, Luigi is a good example because, like I said, it's introductory, not necessarily easy, but you have an answer for everything, and it's kind of obvious as to when, right? As long as you understand how the character works, which is like he has bad drift, limited recovery, no ability to land on top of you. So he kind of has to play like this range, right? If Luigi just keeps falling and tries to like land on top of you here, you just hit him up again until he's over that way, right? And he can't go this way after if he lands and you hit him and he DIs this way, because he's just going to get hit again until he's back over here, right? So it's like you just keep keeping him in disadvantage over and over and over. And by the end of it, they're going to say, what the heck, you're cheating. Like, this is not fair. I don't want to play you anymore. But that's just a matchup, right? And that's how you win. So, yeah, instead of standing so close to the ledge, maybe, where, like, again, the distance between the two of you's point, you kind of want to aim so that the tip of your hitbox is what's interacting with them. You back up a little bit, but, like, good idea here is to just, like, crouch and down tilt him, right? But, yeah, and, like, again, that way you don't even have to use, like, big swingy moves like F Smash if you wanted to. And I think a lot of people will see that Marth as, like, a little bit scrubbier, right? This guy's just spamming F Smash, whatever. This up tilt's good. But it's kind of it's just kind of like you still can threaten the F Smash, and that's basically what this F tilt's doing here. Is like it basically the F Smash or the F tilt, either or, and they kind of cover the same thing. Basically say in this scenario, you can only recover here. And if you try and recover here, I'm just going to hit you, right? So here he's getting a little too comfortable to jump onto the ledge. Boom, you swipe him off. And hit tipper, so you actually just kill him outright. But that's kind of how that goes. So I know that was like one stock, but it kind of encompasses like the whole game plan, right?
Definitely, yeah.
So yeah, that's basically about it. So we're getting close to an hour here, and I don't want to throw... I know I've been talking a lot. I'm not really giving you too many opportunities, but I just wanted to ask, any questions about things we've talked about so far? And like you can take a minute to think. It's really okay. Like, I really don't mind that. But like, anything that's like abundantly not clear when like we're watching it back right now, and like kind of things that you are interested in that want to know if that kind of falls into the game plan, or things that Luigi does in general that kind of like bothers you, or how other characters kind of interact with that. Yeah, this is great. Literally exactly it. Yep, and you can just grab the ledge here if you even wanted to. He's just dead, right? Because now he doesn't have a double jump, and he has to go up. He doesn't have a double jump, so you could have just grabbed the ledge there, but
yeah,
still gets away with it.
Yeah. So I feel like Luigi-wise, I feel pretty good now. I think like a lot of that is like just from like playing. I like subconsciously like realized, you know, like parts of it and stuff, and now it's like, okay, here's like the real like game plan, so it's more
concrete,
locked in there.
Yeah.
I guess one thing would be, I'm definitely gonna want to do another session in the future.
Yeah, of course.
So what would be like big things to like have like before that, you know, like if you had like a couple of things like work on this, so then like I'll do that before I
look, no, for sure. I'm very big on homework.
Another one.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I would say one, it kind of depends on like what you're looking to talk about next time. I think this time where we kind of talked about like I said, my lessons are based on long-term improvement, and we kind of want to talk about like building off the last one. Today we talked about spacing, we talked about juggling, edge guarding, and really that's about it. There's like those three main concepts, right? I would say probably a floatier character. It's probably easier for you to understand like how juggling works. So floatier characters is like Luigi, Peach, the Marios, Sheik to an extent. She falls fast, but she kind of has that same drift problem as Luigi. And most low tiers, so like Zelda, Ness. Trying to think, like I'd have to see the character select screen, but like characters like that, right? If you want to talk about juggling, if you wanted to talk about edge guarding, I think we could move on to like Fox and Falco, because we kind of touched a little bit upon resource management and taking away their resources to get a kill. But if you were to work on stuff before that, it would probably be your spacing and like how you control space on your own versus like jumping into their space all the time with like the Nair example, right? So like being more comfortable doing like a fair or a nair in place, or like standing where you are and throwing out a down tilt and seeing what they do and kind of reacting accordingly from there, right?
Yeah, that's something I remember I heard like Zane talk about was like
Yeah.
using down tilt as just like info gathering.
Yeah. So I
Like what
mean,
do they do if you just down tilt?
yep. No, and it's super super strong. So like, yeah, that's in a Zane coaching husband video, I'm pretty sure.
I think that's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. Yeah, so like in that example, like Zane is talking about here. I'll just jump in like melee myself right now, and I'll kind of show you. Um, in that example, Zane's really talking about, you know, if we're both at a distance, kind of like at ready go, right, where the platforms are there's enough distance between the two of us. None of our moves are really connecting. But again, Mario has way less range than Marth, right? He has nothing that's going to hit me from this distance, but I can hit him if he moves forward a little bit. So the down tilt, right? Low commitment move doesn't really like, I'm not really at risk if I throw this out. He can't really hit me. Some characters like Fox are fast enough where like if they know I'm going to down tilt, maybe he jumps forward and nairs at me and then I get land. But if I know even still that like, okay, I threw out this down tilt, oh, this guy full hopped. He's probably going to full hop in this spacing a lot of the time. Now I can up air him, right? And be ready for the down tilt. Or like, oh, he's running at me every time I get in the spacing and doing like a short hop nair. Well, like my short hop in air is disjointed, and as long as it's in place or retreating, it's actually pretty good at dealing with other people's short hop aerials. So like now I can do that. So I think just like the idea of like staying comfortable when my opponent's like far away from me and gathering info and trying to respond accordingly versus just saying, oh, screw this is taking way too long and going in and trying to hit him. I'm not saying that's necessarily what you're doing, but like just the general Marth feeling of that, I think would be good to work on if you want to talk about Fox. If you want to talk about floatier characters, like the quote-unquote weirdo matchups, I think juggling would be pretty good about that, but this is still also good. But yeah, that'd probably be what I say to work on for now, and just kind of like see how you feel about it, see what's going wrong, and we can kind of talk about like why is that going wrong or why is it going well and like what's different. Because ultimately, like, this game is not like one that like you're gonna get a couple answers and now everything clicks, right? It's like this is where your understanding of it is, and like there's a lot of different like concepts and theories. Like it's a deep game, right? So like
For sure.
yeah. So what I've told you right now is stuff that's like good all the way up to the top level of the game. And in terms of like how you use it, that can look a little different, but like all those same fundamental concepts are there. And I'm just trying to give you the good habits ahead of time versus like figure it out on your own kind of thing, right? So like spacing yourself with Marth, staying underneath your opponents and forcing them off stage, and paying attention to what resources they're using when they're recovering and how you can cover those spots with your moves, is all really good stuff. So I'd pay attention to that specifically if I were to like put it all into one sentence. But yeah, any other questions before we end things here? And I'll give you like my little end spiel.
No, I don't think I have anything.
Okay. Well, if you do, I'll stop the recording here first.